We now continue with the chapter water from chemistry. So, in the earlier chemistry lecture of ninth, we had done till the solubility of the water. So, accordingly, we had seen that the water is the universal solvent which is helping, or we can dissolve most of the substances, and that's why it's called as a universal solvent. We also saw the different kinds of solution, that is unsaturated and saturated solution, and also supersaturated solution, and accordingly also learned about the solubility of the different substances, and that solubility was given as the weight of the solute upon weight of the solvent into 100. And we saw the solubility of gases, and we understood that the effect of pressure on the gases, solubility of gases means if the more the pressure, more will be the solubility, and in case of temperature, more the temperature, less the solubility of gases. So that is what we studied about the solubility up till now or in water. The next what we are seeing is about crystals and crystallization. So what we have is crystals. Now you will find that whenever a hot saturated solution is cooled down, you will find that there will be small crystals formed on the surface of the saturated solution, and this formation of the crystals is nothing but crystallization. So these crystals are so called because they attain a particular geometrical shape. Okay, each and every crystal will be having some kind of a geometrical shape, like it could be cubical or rhombic or tetrahedral or hexagonal. So we can see that when a hot consaturated solution is cooled, the excess solid is generally thrown out in the form of particles having a definite geometrical shape. The particles are called crystals and the process crystallization. So that's what we call it as crystallization. That is nothing but the excess amount of the particles which are there in a hot saturated solution gets removed on cooling. So basically what are crystals? So crystals are homogeneous solids arranged symmetrically. So when a particular kind of a molecule is going to be arranged in a symmetrical manner, forming a homogeneous mixture, it is not a mixture, it's a homogeneous solid. So it is made up of only one kind of particles. So if it's a homogeneous solid arranged in symmetrically, and the crystals are bounded by plane surfaces meeting at sharp edges at definite angles to one another and have a regular definite shape. So yes, these crystals are going to be forming a plane and a vertices and a sharp edges, and accordingly it will be having a proper geometrical shape. So the shapes what it can normally attain are cubic, rhombic, tetragonal, monoclinic, triclinic or hexagonal. Okay, not so important, but just for your information that yeah, these are different shapes a particular salt would be having when it is in a crystalline form. So crystallization, the process by which crystals are separated or deposited from a hot saturated solution of a substance on cooling gently is called crystallization. So the process in which the particles or the crystals are separated out from a hot saturated solution on cooling is called as, cooling gently is called as crystallization. So what are the conditions for crystallization? First thing is a hot saturated solution should be cooled slowly followed by slow evaporation of the same. So what is required is, first of all, you should be having a hot saturated solution, right? It should be a hot saturated solution, so there should be excess of solute in it. Secondly, it should be cooled down slowly, and then it should be done by slow evaporation of the solvent. So the evaporation of the solvent should be slow, so that when the slow evaporation takes place, there is a time available for those particular particles to form into crystals. See, when you are going to cool it rapidly, then there will be a rapid formation of crystals, and that will give you irregular shape. So the shape what will be formed will not be the regular form of that particular substance. To have a regular form, that is crystallization, proper crystallization is formed when there is a slow cooling of the saturated solution. So when you are cooling it slowly, or when the evaporation is slow, only then the crystals which are going to be formed will be in a proper shape. Secondly, rapid cooling of the hot saturated solution results in formation of amorphous solids instead of well-defined crystals. So that's what I told you, that if it is rapidly cooled, they are going to give you amorphous. Amorphous means very different shapes. They are not going to be geometrical shapes, it will be irregular shapes. So amorphous solids do not have a regular geometric shape and are not well defined. Slow evaporation enhances concentration of the solute, causing formation of well-defined crystals. So it is the slow evaporation which is helping to see to it that it gives you a proper kind of a result of crystallization. So that was crystallization. The next one we see is the method of preparation of crystals, which we can also call is that seeding of crystals. So here it's a very simple process. What you do is you are going to prepare a solution over here. So this is the solution over here, and to the solution over here you are going to connect a rod, and this rod is going, you are going to tie up with this rod. So you are going to tie up with this rod a crystal of that particular material. So for example, they are taken over here the thing as KNO3. So this is a saturated solution of potassium nitrate, and this is a crystal of potassium nitrate. So this is a crystal of potassium nitrate, and this is a solution of hot concentrated solution of potassium nitrate. So what will happen is that the size of this particular crystal is going to keep on increasing as it is kept inside in slow evaporation. So to prepare a large size crystal of potassium nitrate, procedure: a saturated solution of KNO3 is prepared at 90 degrees Celsius. It is then filtered out and clear filtrate is allowed to cool in another beaker. Tiny crystal form of a bottom crystals form at the bottom of the beaker. A glass rod is taken and fine cotton thread is tied to it. So you are just taking a small crystal of that thing, and you're tying a cotton cloth to it, and so this particular cotton cloth, and you're going to get it to the bottom. So it's not till here, that will be right up to the bottom. So it's like this. A well-formed crystal is then picked up and tied to one other end of the cotton thread. This crystal is called as seed crystal, which is suspended in the cooled saturated solution prepared above. So whatever you are going to get the crystals at the bottom, out of that you are taking just one particular crystal, tying up with the cotton thread, and then you are placing it inside this thing. This particular crystal what you are having over here is called as the seed crystal. Okay, so it's like a seedling. So that seed के ऊपर सब coating आ जाएगा. The beaker is covered with muslin cloth to prevent dust particles from entering. Observation: after few days, it is seen that a larger crystal is formed on the seed crystal. Such conclusion: cooling a hot concentrated solution results in deposition of well-defined crystal. The crystal, if further suspended in the saturated solution, enlarges in size due to deposition of further crystals on the seed crystal. So yeah, you can say there is nothing but the kind of a cohesive property that the like kind of material is going to attract each other, and hence the crystal, the shape of the crystal is going to be getting bigger and bigger. The size of the crystal is going to get bigger and bigger as it is going to attract the other particles of the same KNO3 to it. So that was crystallization. We now move on to the next part, that is water of crystallization. Now you must have seen that the salts which we are having, these salts, sometimes they will be in a crystalline form, but the moment you are going to heat it, it becomes amorphous. In such cases, it is, and in the same amorphous form, if you just put some few drops of water in it, it again forms into crystals. So that means that there is an associated fixed number of water molecules connected to the parent salt. Like if you take CuSO4, which is white color powder, if you just stick a drop of water in it, it will become into blue colored crystal. So there, each and every molecule of CuSO4 is accompanied with 5 molecules of water so as to give it a crystalline form. Such fixed amount of water connected to the molecule of the salt is called as water of crystallization. It is the presence of this molecules of water which is giving the salt a crystalline form, and hence it is called as water of crystallization. So we define it as the number of water molecules which enter into a loose chemical combination. Okay, it is the number of water molecules which enter into a loose chemical combination with the substance when the substance is crystalline from its hot saturated solution is called water of crystallization. It is responsible for the geometrical shape and color of the crystal. So we see that the loose chemical combination may some particular water is binding it together to form a crystal. That is nothing but water of crystallization. So, and it gives a geometrical shape and color to the crystal. So accordingly, we have the substances to be of two kinds. One is hydrated and other is anhydrous. So with the water of crystallization, what we have is hydrated substance, and other is anhydrous substance. So a hydrated substance contains a fixed number of water molecules connected to the molecule of the substance. So hydrated substance contain fixed number of water molecules as water of crystallization in loose chemical combination with the substance. That is, the example would be CuSO4.5H2O. So this 5H2O is nothing but the water of crystallization. Whereas anhydrous does not contain fixed number of molecules as water of crystallization in loose chemical combination with the substance. For example, KNO3. So KNO3 doesn't need any water of crystallization. It is crystalline in shape even without the presence of water. That's why it is a naturally crystalline material, which is anhydrous substance. Now, whenever you take any hydrated substance and you heat it, you will find that on heating it, there will be two things will take place. First thing is the substance will lose its crystalline shape, it will lose its color, and secondly, it is going to give you some droplets of water. So if I take over here, let's take the example over here. They are given the example of CuSO4.5H2O. When you heat it, so when I heat this particular thing, you will get you are going to get CuSO4 plus 5H2O. So you can see this is a hydrated substance, whereas this over here is a anhydrous substance. Okay, so you can see that this is a blue colored crystal of hydrous copper sulfate, which is having a definite shape of a hydrated crystal, and it is crystalline in nature. So, okay, so what it is having is, first is blue color, second is crystalline shape, Okay, and so crystalline shape and yeah, geometrical figure. So we take it the same thing. Whereas this one over here will be white color powder. So this will be white powder. So that is anhydrous is going to be amorphous. So this is amorphous. So this could be one of the observation that when you are going to heat hydrated CuSO4, a blue colored crystal is going to turn into white colored powder. So crystalline shape is going to become amorphous in nature. So we have got certain examples over here. Calcium sulfate dihydrate, gypsum, that is CuSO4, CaSO4.2H2O, copper nitrate trihydrate, CnO3 twice 3H2O, calcium nitrate tetrahydrate, lime saltpeter, which is CnO3 twice 4H2O, copper sulfate pentahydrate, blue vitriol, CuSO4.5H2O, sodium calcium chloride hexahydrate, CaCl2.6H2O, magnesium sulfate hepahydrate, Epsom salt, NgSO4.7H2O, iron sulfate, that is hepahydrate, that is green vitriol, FeSO4.7H2O, sodium sulfate decahydrate, glauber salt, Na2SO4.10H2O. Whereas examples of anhydrous sulfates crystals are sulfates of potassium, K2SO4, ammonium, NH4 twice SO4, chlorides of potassium, KCl, lead chloride, and nitrates of potassium, KNO3, and sodium, NaNO3. So these are the examples of water of crystallization. We now move on to the next part, and that is about the type of the salt as hygroscopic, that is efflorescent and deliquescent. Okay, so we have got over here that substance could be either efflorescent or deliquescent. So the first thing is over here that crystalline hydrated salt. So we have got over here the first thing as efflorescent. So let's see the proper thing over here. So first thing is efflorescent. And the next is deliquescent. Efflorescent substances are those substances which has got some water of crystallization in them, and when these kinds of substances come in contact with atmosphere, they are going to lose their water of crystallization. So what is going to happen is they are going to lose water of crystallization. So on exposure to the atmosphere, they are going to lose the water of crystallization and become amorphous. So the first thing is that a crystalline hydrated salt which on exposure to atmosphere lose their moisture, that is water of crystallization, partly or completely to atmosphere and change into amorphous state. The result, the substance is called efflorescent and the phenomena is called efflorescence. Okay, so what are efflorescent? Efflorescent substances are those substances which when come in contact with the atmosphere lose their water of crystallization, become amorphous. They can either lose it completely or partially. Examples will be washing soda Na2CO3.10H2O, which becomes Na2CO3.H2O. It becomes monohydrate. So it is not losing completely, it is losing partly. Copper sulfate CuSO4.5H3O becomes anhydrous, becomes CuSO4. Globus of Na2SO4.10H2O becomes completely loses the water crystallization, becomes Na2SO4. The next is deliquescent. Certain substances, they are such that they, when exposed to the atmosphere, they are going to absorb the moisture from the atmosphere. Okay, they are hygroscopic in nature. So being hygroscopic, what will happen? They are going to have the affinity towards water to absorb water. So these substances not only are going to absorb the water, but to such an extent that they will absorb so much moisture that they will form into a saturated solution by dissolving themselves in that moisture what they absorbed. Got it? यानी क्या सिर्फ एब्जॉर्ब नहीं किया, इतना ज्यादा एब्जॉर्ब किया that it dissolved itself in the moisture in which they absorbed. Okay, so water soluble salts which are soluble to, which are exposure to atmosphere, absorb moisture from the atmosphere, dissolve in the absorbed moisture and change into liquid state, that is a saturated solution. Okay, it becomes a liquid state. It changes state from solid to an aqueous solution, or you can say saturated solution. Such substances are called deliquescent, and the phenomena is deliquescence. Okay, so that is this one. So what happens over here is absorbs moisture and forms into saturated solution. Okay, so it forms into saturated solution. So examples over here will be iron chloride, FeCl3, calcium chloride, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide and magnesium chloride. So you can see that efflorescence and deliquescence are caused by the difference between the vapor pressure of the crystals and the atmospheric humidity. Efflorescence occurs when the vapor pressure of the hydrated crystals exceed the vapor pressure of the atmospheric humidity. Hence efflorescence is minimum during humid conditions. So efflorescence takes place when the vapor pressure of the hydrated crystals is more than the outside. So अंदर का pressure more है, इसलिए पानी बाहर जाता है. Okay, so when inside pressure of that particular molecules of that particular vapors are vapor pressure of that particular hydrated crystals is more, then it is going to move outwards. So water moves outwards and hence it is going to give you efflorescence. And hence if the outside pressure is more, means if it is a humid condition, then the efflorescence will be less. Similarly, deliquescence occurs when the vapor pressure of the aqueous solution, aqueous tension of the deliquescent crystal solution is very low compared to the vapor pressure of the atmospheric humidity. If the atmospheric humidity is higher and the vapor pressure of that particular liquid is a particular crystalline form is less, then the water is going to enter into it. So if बाहर का pressure ज़्यादा, vapor pressure inside the crystal less, then the water enters inside. That is nothing but what happens in deliquescence. So hence deliquescence is minimum in dry conditions. If it is a dry weather, then deliquescence will be minimum. Common salt turns moist on exposure to air. Now this is something a unique phenomena. You must have, everybody have experienced that जब भी कोई भी होटल में जाते हो और होटल में जाके अगर हम लोगों ने salt का वो लिया and we try to put it, you find that it doesn't come out, and when you open it you find that it is completely become sticky. So but you know that NaCl is not a deliquescent substance. Then why did it become sticky? So the main thing is that common salt is not deliquescent but contains a small amount of calcium and magnesium chloride impurities which are deliquescent. So sodium chloride is not deliquescent but it contains small quantity of impurities like calcium and magnesium chloride which are deliquescent in nature, which is going to absorb the moisture, become liquid and hence accordingly going to form a sticky salt. Hence the impurities absorb moisture from air, thereby turning common salt wet, sticky and wet, especially during humid conditions. So that is how we are getting common salt when exposed to air becomes very sticky. We now see what is the next kind, and that is the hygroscopic substances and drying agents. Now, hygroscopic is nothing but any particular substance which has got an affinity towards water, like deliquescent substances. Deliquescent substances are hygroscopic because they have affinity towards water. Yeah, so any substance which is having an affinity towards water means it is going to try to absorb water, that is called as hygroscopic. So hygroscopic substances differ from deliquescent a bit. What is the difference? Of course, the यहाँ पे वो saturated solution बनता है, whereas a hygroscopic one will be the one in which it is not going to absorb so much that it gets dissolved in it and becomes a saturated solution. So if it is absorbing moisture but it still retains its original solid state, then you call those substances as hygroscopic substances. So hygroscopic substances, like deliquescent substances, absorb moisture from the atmosphere when exposed to it, but unlike deliquescent substances, do not change their states. Okay, so that's the main thing. They do not change the state. They still remain solids. So that is, a solid substance remains a solid after absorption of moisture. Deliquescent substances, on the other hand, are crystalline solids, while hygroscopic substances may be amorphous solids or liquids. Yes, hygroscopic can be liquids also. That could be a liquid which could be hygroscopic nature. It is absorbing the moisture from the atmosphere. So it is not necessary that hygroscopic substances are only solids. It could be solids also or liquids also, and that too, it will be normally not crystalline but amorphous solids. So examples of solids will be quicklime, CaO, anhydrous calcium chloride, CaCl2, PbO5, that is potassium, phosphorus pentoxide, silica gel. Liquids में concentrated sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Now, these hygroscopic substances can be used as drying agents and dehydrating agents. Because they have got an affinity towards water, so if any gas is made or anything is made which has got water in it, you can allow it to pass through these drying agents, and these drying agents can easily absorb the moisture from those gases and give you a dry gas in turn. So that is why we use these hygroscopic substances in two forms. One is drying agent and other is dehydrating agents. What's the difference between the two? A drying agent, so most of the hygroscopic substances are drying agents. Drying agents are substances which can readily absorb or remove moisture from other substances. So if there is a moisture in other substance, you can use a drying agent and automatically it is going to absorb the moisture. And you must have very much seen this particular thing when you buy a brand new water bottle. When you buy a brand new water bottle or any tiffin or something, you will find a small pouch of silica gel inside. Why is it present inside? So that there is no moisture present in that particular thing, and hence when you open it after a long period of time, because we don't know when it is going to be sold. It could be sold after 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So if there is moisture inside, then it will smell. The moisture would smell. So hence they put a small pack of silica gel inside, that white color का एक pillow जैसा रहता है छोटा सा. So that particular thing is silica gel, which is going to absorb the moisture which would be present inside the bottle. So that exactly is what we are seeing as the drying agents. So their substances will absorb or remove moisture from other substances. Fused calcium chloride is a deliquescent in nature, absorb moisture and hence used as a drying agent or desiccating agent. So any particular drying agent which is used in a apparatus called as a desiccator, then it is called as a desiccating agent. So it's one and the same, but because वो desiccator में use होता है इसलिए उसको desiccating agent बोलते हैं, बाकी है तो वो drying agent. So that is a drying agent. So drying agent will be the one which is going to be absorbing the moisture from a substance. But there is another thing which is called a dehydrating agent. Now dehydrating agent is the one which can remove the water even from a compound. Means CuSO4.5H2O है मेरे पास. It is already in the form of a compound. So this 5H2O is a part and parcel of this particular molecule. A dehydrating agent will be the one which can remove this just by presence of it. So we have H2SO4. So if I just bring H2SO4 near this thing, you will find that this will blue color crystal will become white color powder. Why? Because this has got so much strong affinity. H2SO4, concentrated sulfuric acid, has got so much affinity towards water that जैसे ही वो किसी ऐसे के पास भी आएगा तो उसमें से water molecules it is going to absorb. Not only that, even in the form of glucose, glucose C6H12O6. This also, when it comes in contact with H2SO4, will give me C, that is 6C plus H2O. Why? Because this over here is in the form of a water molecule. So sulfuric acid is so strong hygroscopic material that it can remove water even if it is present in a molecular form inside a molecule. Okay, if it is a part of a molecule, even then it can work. Hence, you can see the dehydrating agents remove chemically combined water or elements of water from compounds. So, it is going to chemically compound machine nikalta. It is removing something chemically present over there. So, removes chemically combined water or elements of water from compound due to the strong affinity to water. Concentrated sulfuric acid being hygroscopic in nature acts as a drying agent as well as a dehydrating agent. So concentrated sulfuric acid can not only be used as a drying agent but also as a dehydrating agent. Hence they are given this equation: glucose will give you carbon plus water in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid. So examples of drying agent are in a desiccator. In a desiccator you use fused calcium chloride. We use concentrated sulfuric acid, fused phosphorus pentoxide, and quicklime. These are the examples. Quicklime is calcium oxide, CaO. So these are the examples of drying agent. We'll stop over here for this video. The next thing what we'll be doing is the types of water: hard water and soft water.